Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, K Geek XX Chic, and I am back with the last review of The Walking Dead ever. Season 11, episode 24, which was called Rest in Peace. So we have wrapped it up, guys. The entire series of The Walking Dead has come to its completion, and I think it was fitting enough as an ending. This is a show that's quite formulaic, and it kind of has a format that it goes through, and I didn't really think it could stray too much from that, especially in the final season. When I say that the show is formulaic, I mean in the sense of we've kind of already gone through the whole, new community seems great, finding out that it's actually not, the group having to figure it out, rescue themselves, rescue the community, overtake, plunder the dead, hordes. Like, we've kind of gone through every trope, I guess is my point. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I said that while it's sad to see this show go, I understand why it had to, because we've kind of gone through everything. I don't think The Walking Dead can really introduce too much more at this point that we're not familiar with. And that's the case of a show that's been around for 11 seasons. I mean, that in of itself is a great accomplishment, honestly. Snaps to AMC and snaps to the writers and directors and all the people who are behind the scenes of keeping the show going as well, because it's not easy to keep it going this long and still have it be a relatively popular show. I mean, I know it's not exactly where it was, say, in its peak, but I think there's still a lot of people who still love this show a lot and are going to be sad to see it go, and I'm one of them. But as far as coming back to this episode, kind of knew from the beginning of this season that it was kind of going to be the situation where Rick's people were going to figure out something was wrong with the Commonwealth and do something about it, and that the shiny veneer was going to come off very quickly, and that most likely it was going to be a situation where Rick's people would have to decide whether or not they want to go back and rebuild Alexandria, or if they want to take over the Commonwealth and improve it or shape it more to their image. And it was a little bit of both. In the end, we see that because of people like Ezekiel and I guess even Princess, if you want to think about it, those who kind of bonded with people in the Commonwealth and with the idea of being there, it wasn't as easy for them to just walk away. They wanted to continue to be part of those communities. And again, as Ezekiel said, he felt like, we don't have to make it an us versus them. Like, there's a lot of people here, especially the ones who were forced into poverty because of Pamela and the people who were sent away to do hard labor and all these other things. Like, they were wronged by the Commonwealth, and they're good people. Well, some of them are good people. I mean, obviously there's always going to be some bad ones in the bunch, but anyway, you know what I mean. He was like, no, they don't all deserve to be put into the same category as Pam and her son and Hornsby and the rich people who are willing to let everybody die. And so he wasn't willing to just walk away and save themselves. And I think, that's understandable. And again, there's people who made bonds with people in the Commonwealth, right? Like Eugene was not leaving Stephanie, like he's obsessed with her. And, Princess was going to leave Mercer. So there was going to be people who were going to always be tied to the Commonwealth going forward because they'd met people that they cared for there. But in the end, as I said, we kind of knew it was going to end up this way where the current leadership, which was Pamela at that point, had to go. She showed her true colors of not being a fair leader. I wouldn't say she wasn't effective. I think she ran things the way that a lot of things would have been done in our world today and would have been and she would have been considered successful. But this isn't the old world, right? This is a world where the dead walk around and you have to think about other things. And I really like that line that Daryl had all the big lines in this episode, didn't he? Which is a huge change for him. But him saying, he's like, the problem you had from this place from the get-go is that you tried to model it after the old world. And I said that, remember, way back in the first half of season 11, I was like, she kept saying we're going to go back to the old world, things are going to be like it was, the way it was. And it's like, you can't go back to the way it was. Hornsby too, his obsession with rebuilding the old world, it's like the old world's dead and gone. Like, at this point, they don't give us clear timelines, of course, in The Walking Dead, but I think we can say that it's been effectively 15-ish years since the world fell. It's different now. Like, things are just never going to be the same. The dead are always going to be a problem, and people have had to change and adapt and do all kinds of things, good and bad, to survive. And because of that, you can't go back to the world that was. It's just not going to happen. And so that was why it was always doomed to fail in one way or another. And that's, why you need people who are kind of like Rick's people who have been through it. They're still very diverse, though. I love that it's not like they're all hardened, badasses like Rick. There's people who've had softer lives. You've got people like Lydia who walked amongst the dead. You've got people like Negan who has leadership skills for better or worse. You've got Maggie who's been out there. You get my point. Rick's group is so diverse as far as thought, experiences, background, skills, that's what you need in a community. You need to be teaching people how to adapt and how to live with this new world, as messed up as it is. The main themes that should be happening in every community is safety, security, and overall a way to make sure sure that resources keep flowing in, aka food and water and things that they need to survive. But that's it. After that, there really isn't like this rigid system of control that needs to be there anymore. There should be more of a embracing, let's figure this out sort of attitude. So that's basically what looks like is going to happen. It's no longer just the Republic of Pam. We see that we've got Ezekiel and Mercer running things, and I kind of felt like it was going to either be Mercer or possibly Carol running things, but I'm kind of glad it's Mercer because he does have the respect of the people and he has been there a super long time. So I think he's a good choice to be the person running things going forward. Outside of that, our losses, we lost a couple of people. Luke and the other girl, I'm sorry, I forget her name, but I'm sorry, she's so late. She came to the show so late. I'm so sorry. But yes, we lost them. I kind of knew they were going to go though because they haven't been around for most of this season anyway, and he was very much a tertiary character. Still sad though, he was a cool actor. Would have been nice to see him stick around, but we had to lose people. We also lost Rosita. That was probably the biggest one. I knew we'd lose somebody, and because I just kind of knew it wasn't going to be Judith, but would have been a crazy move if they did. But yeah, we lost Rosita. I thought like her plot armor would be super thick if she didn't get bitten falling into a giant pile of walkers, especially those that were, like we got the climbers mixed in with this group, which I don't know why. It just seems to be this group all around the Commonwealth that are full of these climbers all of a sudden. But yeah, she fell right on top of them. So I'm like, the chances she didn't get bitten are very low, but you never know. You know, shows like this have plot armor all the time, but it looks like they decided that Rosita already got one badass moment that she survived in the season. 2 is too many, but it was still super cool to see her just ball out for her baby. You know what I mean? Really just make sure that Coco was safe. That was her main objective, and I think that's why she was able to pull through that better than she did, or better than she would have otherwise. Very sad to see her go. As I said, the slow goodbyes I feel like are so much harder in The Walking Dead than the quick ones, but you know, she got to say her goodbye. She got to have a beautiful, safe moment, which is nice. A lot of them have to die in the middle of the fray or be ripped apart terribly. So the fact that she got to have a nice, peaceful death in her bed with her oldest friend beside her was a really nice, fitting end for her. And sad that Coco is effectively an orphan because both her bio parents are gone now, but they're still Father Gabe. He decided to raise her as his daughter because I kind of thought for a minute like maybe Eugene would take her, but I guess he doesn't really have to, does he? So outside of that, there wasn't much else to talk about. I feel like the rest was pretty standard. Like I said, leaving Pam alive, I don't know how much I like that, but I get it, you know, in the spirit of how things are supposed to be different going forward. We can't just kill our enemies anymore. So Pamela being in jail, like they said, is a very bad punishment for her because she was all about appearances and she does think she's the best, and it's an ego blow for her to be there. But I just feel like death would have been better, but not on her terms. You know how she was kind of trying to walk into Hornsby? I'm like, no, she doesn't get to die on her terms. It needs to be like something public, like a hanging or an assassination. But anyway, since we didn't get that, I guess she'll have to sit there and watch her town prosper without her. So that'll probably get under her skin as well. We had a very long conversation between Negan and Maggie, again reminiscent of what we saw in the first half of the season, where he basically was trying to convince her that they could work together, and then he was kind of telling her to get over what happened between all of them way back in season 6 or whatever it was. But this time it was much different because, you know, Maggie overheard him talking to Ezekiel and asking Ezekiel why he risked his life to save Negan and his wife and his baby, and Negan just basically saying that he recognizes that the people in that community have made better choices. He said they're better than him. I don't agree with that statement. I talked about that in my last review, but I think Maggie hearing that, and then of course seeing that even after she said she wasn't going to go after Pamela, he was prepared to go do it on his own, and her being like, why are you doing this? And he's like, I mean it. Like, I'm very sorry. Like he said, me on my knees in front of someone who was about to kill me and my family and everything I care about. For the first time, I finally understand what I put you through with Glenn, and I'm sick about it. And I am genuinely sorry that I did that to you, especially now seeing that you guys are actually really good people. And so I didn't even think of that during that episode, that yeah, actually it's kind of the same situation that he put those guys in all those years ago. But it makes sense. I feel like it is the first time that Negan genuinely understands how messed up what he did was, because we saw in that first conversation he had with Maggie all those months ago, he still thought he was in the right? He told her like, yeah, I understand you're mad at me and I'm sorry about all that, but I still don't think I made the wrong choice. And then now he's like, no, actually I get how messed up it is now. I am genuinely sorry. And like I said in the episode, you can really, really, really hate someone and they can be very deserving of that hate. But one thing about humanity is that when someone is genuinely sorry, I tell you, it comes through their pores. Like it's something you feel on a visceral level. It's subconscious. it's guttural. Like, it's just something you feel on a level that's in your spirit. And it's very hard to be angry with somebody when they're in that state. It's just, yeah, you have to feed from a different place when that happens, because like I said, genuine remorse is heartbreaking. And I think that Maggie felt it for the first time, that he actually was sorry. And that's why she was able to like go with him on the Pamela thing. And then of course prompt her to have that conversation with him where she basically told him that, I do believe you now, that you are trying, and I do think you're trying to be a different person, and that this isn't just an act anymore. However, I will never be able to dissociate what you did, that traumatic thing that literally changed my life forever and changed me fundamentally forever. I can't dissociate that from you. And that's why I don't think I can ever forgive you. And I've said many times on this channel, maybe I think in this show and other ones as well, but anyway, that the true definition of forgiveness is to let something go. It's not to say it's okay. It's not to give it, say it was justified. It's to say that I'm letting go of all the negative emotions that go along with this act. I'm foregoing it. I'm letting it go. That does not mean that you forget. It does not mean that you need to embrace or love the thing that caused, or the person that caused that situation. And so I do hope that Maggie gets to a point where she can forgive what Negan did, in the sense of letting go of all those negative emotions, because we heard her say, I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of feeling this hate. I'm tired of feeling just this way all the time, but I can't, forgive you. And I think what she really meant is, I'll never be able to forget what you did. And I'll never be able to, or at least at this point, she can't see herself not associating him with the worst thing that's ever happened to her. So that made sense to me. And I've been saying that since the get-go, that Maggie's not obligated to give Negan a second chance, or to embrace him, or to be his friend, or to, have to work beside him or anything. And I think that's fair. But I do like that she's saying she's trying to at least let go of the visceral hatred that she has for him. And like she said, I don't want Herschel to be poisoned with that in his life either. I don't want him to grow up thinking he's got to kill you. So anyway, good conversation. I was a little tense in it because, it's Walking Dead. Last time we saw someone make a peaceful conversation like this, Rick slit his throat. So anyway, Negan gets to live. Once again, he slips by, and it looks like him and his wife, like I said, I think it makes sense for him to stay close to medical attention until the baby was born. But after that, he could either choose to stay with the community or he could leave. But I think they came to a nice impasse, would be the best way to describe it, I guess, is that, they're never going to be besties, but at least they can coexist peacefully. And I think that's the most that Negan could ever ask for from anyone. And then outside of that, we see that Daryl has taken off, which is very true to Daryl's character. He was never much for staying in one place. He stuck around because of the people, but now that he knows they're going to be okay for a while, I think he's just going to do his thing where he'll wander out and come back. But we find out that Judith has let him know everything about what happened, the fact that Michonne's looking for Rick and thinks she might have found him. So we all know that Rick is effectively Daryl's brother. And so now that he knows that Rick's alive, especially since we know that he searched for Rick for like a year after he died, he wants to resolve that for himself as well, right? If Michonne's out there, he wants to help her come home. If Rick's out there, he wants to help him come home. So that might be a little teaser, maybe, that Daryl's going to be in some of the Michonne series. I'm not mad at it, honestly. They'll need some help, I feel like, at some point. I don't know who else is going to be out there to help them. But yeah, he's back on the road, but Carol is staying, she's going to stay put for once. She's taken a few sabbaticals, but it looks like she's going to settle in and actually let herself develop some roots again. And she's going to take over taking care of RJ and Judith in the meantime. And looks like maybe her and Zeke might be back on, which I'm okay with, because I think that they were a cute couple. And I know this is much to the dismay of the Carol Daryl shippers, but I just never saw it with Carol and Daryl personally, so I'm not sad about it. But who knows? I think their spin-off series is still happening, so who knows what might happen with that. Which brings me to the fact that I am sad about the fact that Daryl and Connie are not together. They should have rode off together. But anyways, I get it though. Connie is really not about that life. And especially since her and Kelly were separated forcibly for a long time a couple seasons ago, I can see why she would want to put any distance between her and her sister right now. So, all right, that brings us to the most amazing part of the episode for me, which was seeing what I will call a backdoor pilot to the Michonne series, which is to be released, I believe, this year. I think that's what they said at Comic-Con. Hopefully they'll be able to stay on target. So many things, different shows I've been watching have been pushed back still, but I'm hoping that's not the case with this, because this has been pushed back a lot. But we're getting scenes. We have scenes with Andy Lincoln, so that gives me a lot of hope that it's happened. And they were at Comic-Con and they've said it, like they filmed it's happening. So I'm excited. We see that Michonne's been writing letters that she's hoping will get back to Judith. We got what I figured out, I think, was a flashback to Rick when he first escaped from the CRM. Looks like he put a note in that backpack along with the phone and threw it onto that ship, hoping that Michonne would find it, because clearly he saw them, but for whatever reason he didn't. I shouldn't say for whatever reason, because remember I was saying years ago when they first showed Michonne with that phone, I was like, why would Rick, if he saw Judith and Michonne, like, it doesn't make sense that he wouldn't have gone to them. But my guess is that he must have known that they would recapture him, that they had a way to find him. So he didn't want to risk them getting hurt or captured. So he just stayed at a distance and just figured he'd try to leave them something to let them know that he was okay. So anyways, we got to see him barefoot amongst the dead. But yeah, he is still very invested in finding his family and finding his wife, and that's all that matters to me. And Michonne looking badass in her amazing leather suit. Like I said, looks very Wakanda to me. Wondering if she filmed that scene when she was still on set for Wakanda Forever. But anyway, yeah, she's still out there looking for her man, and she's not giving up hope, and she's still out there. So it looks like they're still not back together, but I'm hoping it'll happen soon, and I'm looking forward to it. It was really great to see their faces again. It got me very hyped for it. And also just the overall montage at the end of seeing all the people that have come and gone in The Walking Dead. It's kind of crazy how many people have gone through that show and affected us and touched the story and enhanced it and left their mark. So yeah, it's just been an amazing journey, and overall I feel like this show has been very, very good. I know I definitely had my doubts about how good it would be after the lead Andy Lincoln left and then having Denai leave. It's definitely not been the same, I'll say that. It's maybe not been my favorite seasons with them without it, but I still think they did a good job of juggling the show post their departures, and still making it entertaining and still telling good stories. But as I said, I think it's a logical time for it to end, and I wish all the people involved all the best. Like I said, I think they're still doing a lot of other spin-offs, and I don't think the Walking Dead universe is by any means over yet. But I think a good chunk of these people are probably going to be moving on to other things. So I wish them all the best with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think I want to see too much more. I mean, this was already a longer episode than usual, but I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed reacting to this series. I enjoyed the amazing people who came to watch my channel to watch me react to this series and who provided feedback and interacted with me. I really, really enjoyed all of it, you guys. I do hope that you will join me for reacting to when the Michonne series comes out. I will definitely be reacting to that, and probably most of the spin-offs that come off of this show, because I do like a lot of them. I know I didn't do Fear, but I do plan on probably doing the ones that they'll be releasing in the near future. So hopefully if you enjoyed watching me watch this, you will join me for those. But otherwise, as I said in my reaction video, if this is all that you watch from me, then I understand and I appreciate you, and I thank you so much for your time, and I wish you the best in whatever else you choose to watch, and hopefully you'll find something else you like that I react to. But if not, all the best to you. And for the rest of you who watch my other videos, if you like this, please give it a thumbs up. Also for those of you who might be only watching this, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching along with me.